All right, let's talk about something I think every leader, every creator, well, anyone who gets up in front of people feels. It's that constant pull, right? Between the pressure to deliver this amazing performance and this deep gut-level need to just be real. In this explainer, we're going to walk through a framework that really tackles this head-on, helping you move from just putting on a show to leading with genuine authenticity. You know, whenever you're in that spotlight, whether it's a literal stage or just the head of a conference table, it can feel, well, pretty lonely. And it's in those quiet moments, right before you start, that this one question tends to creep in. A question that really gets to the heart of why you're even there in the first place. And there it is. That's the question. It's the core fear that this whole guide is built around. That nagging little voice in the back of your head that whispers, hey, are you actually helping anyone? Or have you just gotten really good at faking it? It's a heavy one, for sure. So what's the answer? Let's dig into the framework.
Now, this guide starts by looking at the problem through the eyes of a worship leader. But honestly, this applies to anybody in a leadership position. The issue isn't about skill or talent or how good you are at your job. It's about an internal crisis of identity, one that's fueled by that relentless inner critic.
Does any of this look familiar? This is what that internal chaos feels like. It's classic imposter syndrome. You're constantly looking over your shoulder, comparing yourself to others. When something goes right, you think, phew, just got lucky that time. You over-prepare, not out of diligence, but out of fear. And you just can't shake that feeling that you're about to be found out. These are the red flags that your leadership is running on anxiety, not authenticity.
So, this leads to a huge pivot. If constantly chasing the perfect performance is just a recipe for burnout and anxiety, then we're focused on the wrong thing entirely. This guide forces us to ask a better question. What's a foundation that can actually last, one that doesn't crumble under pressure?
And here it is. This is the core solution the guide offers up, the identity anchor. I love this metaphor. It's all about making a deliberate shift. You stop building your leadership on the shifting sands of public opinion or your latest performance, and instead you anchor yourself to solid, unshakable truths about who you are, totally separate from what you do.
This image just nails it, doesn't it? An anchor keeps a ship from being tossed around in a storm. It doesn't stop the storm, but it holds the ship steady. In the same way, these core identity truths are designed to hold you steady, no matter how harsh the criticism or how loud the self-doubt gets.
This first truth is, wow, so freeing. It completely reframes your job. Your purpose isn't to get people to look at you. It's to point them towards something bigger than you. Think about how much pressure that takes off. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be a faithful guide. And here's the second truth to anchor yourself to. People don't actually connect with a flawless, polished performance. They connect with a real, flawed, authentic human being. True influence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being present. In fact, your realness is what gives everyone else permission to be real too. Okay, so once that foundation is secure, we can start building on it. When your identity is solid, you can stop thinking like a performer and start thinking like what the guide calls a strategic architect. This is a huge shift. You're no longer just picking songs or putting together a presentation. You are intentionally designing an entire journey for people.
And this is the blueprint for that journey. It's called the energy arc, and you can see it's a purposeful flow, not just a random list of things to do. It starts with gathering, meeting people where they are and bringing them together. Then you move to engagement, turning their attention toward the main purpose. The peak is the encounter, the core connection. That's followed by a response, a moment to process and commit, and finally sending them back out with purpose. It's a powerful model for shaping almost any experience.
Now, inside all that big picture strategy, the guide gives us this incredibly practical, memorable rule of thumb. It's all wrapped up in this number, 60 to 70%. So what on earth is that about? It's this simple. About 2/3 of your content, whether it's songs in a set list or concepts in a presentation, should be stuff your audience already knows. Why? Because familiarity breeds trust. It creates a sense of safety. And when people feel safe and secure, they're much more willing to engage and maybe even try something new. So we've got our identity anchored and our strategy mapped out. Now we got to talk about actually doing the thing. And listen, this isn't about chasing perfection. It's about becoming so competent in your craft that the craft itself becomes invisible, allowing the message to shine through.
I absolutely love this progression. We all start at learning, just getting the basics down. Then we get to knowing, where we can do it right, but we still have to think about it. And honestly, this is where a lot of us stop. But the real goal is owning it, where it's so deep in your muscle memory you don't even have to think, because that is what unlocks the final level, leading. Your brain is finally free from the mechanics so you can be fully present and actually connect with people.
Of course, none of this happens in a bubble. If you're leading a team, especially in a live setting, you can't just shout instructions. You have to have a simple, shared language that everyone understands instantly. It sounds so obvious, but we forget it all the time.
And here's a perfect practical example. A quick index finger pointed up means, let's do that part one more time. A closed fist moving upward signals, build the energy here. It's not rocket science, but this is the kind of clear, nonverbal communication that transforms a bunch of talented individuals into a truly unified team.
Okay, let's tie all of this together. We've gone from that internal battle with the inner critic to finding a solid anchor for our identity to getting practical with strategy and skill. It's all been building to this one final crucial idea about where real, lasting impact actually comes from.
This quote right here is the absolute heart of it all. The leadership that people see in public is always a reflection of the leader's private journey. You simply can't fake this stuff. The authenticity that connects with people isn't a technique you learn, it's an overflow of who you really are.
And so that leaves us with this final question to really chew on. Are we spending all our energy managing a performance for an audience, or are we focused on cultivating a genuine presence that invites people into a real experience with us? It's a challenge for sure, but it's a shift in focus from the outward show to the inward substance of who we are as leaders.